the bottom line.
Here's the bottom line.
Here's the bottom line.
We need to get to the bottom of this.
Get to the bottom of this.
We've got to get to the bottom of this.
The bottom line on the Marc Cox Show.
That's the only way we're going to get to the bottom of this.
That's the bottom line.
Truth! You can't handle the truth.
All right, Scott Jones, welcome into the studio, my friend. How are you?
Hi, Mark. How are you?
It's good to see you.
So it never fails. Anytime I come here, that day of or the day before, some major news story breaks out.
Your timing is perfect. How about that? Don't you think?
I'm a big fan of timing.
Yeah, big fan of timing. So I think what we need is a good referee. Do you know any of those?
No, not.
You don't.
If you listen to the public, there is no such thing.
I tease Scott because he's been an official at my son's basketball games over the years and football games and all kinds of stuff. So I appreciate your making some time for us this afternoon. You know, I've gone off earlier again on the fact that as a community, we're basically being held hostage here with threats if a criminal justice case doesn't end the way one side likes. What's your take on this?
Okay, one of the fun things to do is, I was just teasing with Jason, but you mean it. It's show prep, and you have to. One of the things, if you're going to be try to be responsible on the airwaves, you want to try to say things that are as accurate as possible, so you can present the right case, especially if you have an opposing look. You want to be able to have some facts to back up what you're saying.
So are you telling me you did some show prep today?
I did a little show prep.
Oh, that's good. All right, go ahead.
Little show prep.
Hit me.
I can just drive around and listen to the show, and that's good show prep.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's good.
So if you think about, there have been a lot of references to Ferguson, and I think the last, quote, civil uprising we've had was in that fall of 2014, anything that was of any substance. And if you remember the outline of that particular protest, it was very contained. It wasn't going west of, it wasn't going north of 270, wasn't going east of Lucas and Hunt. It wasn't going anywhere near Emerson Electric, Glen Echo Country Club, Norwood Country Club. It wasn't going anywhere where, let's, for lack of a better word, say a few torches were going to really matter, okay? So if you want to fast forward this to today, you can almost bet, and you can go through most civil uprisings. I think you made in my world of going to correct my friend, you made a comment that it seems like everything has exploded since the Obama administration. So I did a little homework, and since 1980, there's been over 60 civil uprisings, and most of them were because of the verdicts based on alleged, because we weren't there, police misconduct. Most famous, Rodney King riots. Now, the whole country saw Rodney King get his brains beat out. How in the world okay, let me go back. Whole world saw Rodney King get his brains beat out. That confirmed everything that Black America had been promoting since the beginning of the police.
Because it was caught on video.
It was caught on video.
Right.
How can you deny that? Those 4 people are going to jail. Okay, even prior to that, there were lots of allegations, Liberty City riots in Miami, time after time, but there was no proof. Now you got proof. Guess what? Not guilty. How? Well, Rodney King was trying to fight back, so we had to have 10 people beat his brains out with sticks and tasers. Okay. A little known fact after that, 2 weeks after that in Los Angeles, a Korean grocer shot a little 14-year-old girl in the back as she was walking away because she got accused of stealing some milk.
Okay.
And that Korean grocer was given probation because the judge said she suffered enough during the trial. Okay, so we fast forward that to one incident after another. It seems as though, and it's just an opinion, that Black people have a very difficult time getting out of the way of police bullets. And it's never...
But, Scott, you know that statistically there were more white people killed by police than Black people, right?
No. Numerically, there were more.
Thank you.
Statistically, it's like 5 to 1.
But the point is that I keep getting back to Ferguson on this because it's the case. nobody found anything wrong with the shooting in Ferguson, including the Justice Department of the Obama administration. And yet the reaction to it seemed out of context for what happened.
And you know what? And there's a lot of truth to that, especially once you get into the people that decided to get involved in the looting and the crime and the criminality of it. I have minimal to no sympathy over that.
I know.
I totally, I get anger, but anger and, there's always the conflict. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, violence, nonviolence. It is a fact that a minority will never get anything accomplished in a majority situation by violence because you don't have enough people and you don't have enough guns. So that's
and I would never
dumb.
have expected you to come down on supporting violence. That wasn't what I was suggesting. But what I had a caller earlier, Sean, well-spoken young man who called in here and made his case about a lot of the things you just brought up, the inequities with how the police interact with African Americans and a history of it and a long history of it, and that's where part of this frustration is coming from. And I understand that. I do understand that. But what I said to him was, folks have let that, for politically correct reasons, I think, folks have let that good cause be hijacked by the folks in Ferguson who didn't live there, who did most of the damage. And I would argue the same thing probably happened in Baltimore if you look at the arrest records and other towns across America where this has happened. And yet it seems to be the default reaction in a situation like this. The reason this one crosses the line, and in some respects for me, is that in advance you've got members of the clergy telling a sitting circuit judge he'll have blood on his hands if he doesn't rule the way they want.
Well, and I found that to be pretty irresponsible, to tell you the truth.
I figured you might.
If you promote, what you promote can happen. Now, do I think that one thing is going to happen downtown? Nope, because the police aren't going to let it. I hate comparing eras, but you did it great earlier. 2014, there was a different kind of guy in charge in Missouri. Eric Greitens is not going to let one hair of the city of St. Louis or St. Louis County get dented. If these protests go beyond, this is my opinion, beyond a protest off the streets, off the sidewalks, I'm very afraid of what the National Guard or the police may do to these young people. What you got to understand about...
Now, what are you suggesting here? A Kent State situation? You don't think the National Guard's going to come in and open fire because Eric Greitens is governor?
No, that's different. Kent State were peaceful protesters in a valley with National Guardsmen on a hill.
No, but my point is, why are you afraid?
No, and when I say afraid is that if a brick or somebody that wants to start something throws something and it hits a National Guardsman in the face, this guy might feel like if I shoot into the crowd, I'm going to be protected. Okay? If I decide to bust somebody in the head that gets too close to my shield, I'm going to be looked out for. So I'm afraid for these protesters based on today's atmosphere. And especially if it becomes somewhere other than the park, the sidewalk. You talked about disrupting
the street.
I'm talking about if it's. I'm saying it needs to stay in contained areas. If you start trying to hijack areas, that's not going to work. They're not going to allow these protesters to close down streets. You're not going to have them. But
they are. I've been told that they are. That's part of the plan.
Well, that might be what you were told was part of the plan. But until you see that plan in action, that's a whole different story. When a bunch of misguided, and again, we can talk about the merits. I don't think since the Black Panthers, there hasn't been a more proactive, outstanding idea than Black Lives Matters, because their only sole focus is to bring attention to police brutality. Anything else that happens off of that, offshoots, perceptions, then that's everybody else's
problem. You saying they're
problem.
not responsible for anybody who claims to be part of Black Lives Matter who does something
Well, there's always somebody in a group that may go astray. But I'm talking about what the group is all about. It's not a racist group. It's not a lecherous group. All they're about is bringing attention to police brutality. It's just like the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers had one mission: we want to be treated equally, and we want to be protected from police. We're not threatening anybody. We're not racist. We don't hate anybody. All we want to do is be treated like you're being treated.
We're about to find out if that's true or not, I think, this weekend.
But, and you know what?
Because there are outside forces that have been brought into St. Louis, I'm told, to stir this up.
Well, but you know what? Sometimes the pot needs to be stirred up, but it doesn't need to be violently stirred up.
But
and if it is violently stirred up, these are people that are going to be dealt with accordingly.
I'm afraid they're not, and I'm afraid you can't have it both ways. So,
well, I hope. I certainly hope that we can, because there's going to be a lot of the potential for injury is great, and if you don't.
Kirkwood last night. Did you see what happened in Kirkwood?
I didn't hear, but I just heard. First time I heard about it was when you talked about it.
Protesters shut down the intersection of Kirkwood Road there by the Kirkwood Police Department.
I was taken by the people that tried to stand in front of a train. That was just...
Well, yeah. That was a caller who said he was there and saw it. But
was pretty ridiculous. These
folks who tried to block the street, a car pulled around them, didn't hit anybody. Clearly, he wasn't aiming for anybody. He was trying to get through the intersection, and they started pelting the car with rocks. Now, that's going to precipitate violence. I guess you can argue who the aggressor was in that case. My argument is the police should never have let them occupy the street to begin with.
Well, and that's probably something. But what you got to understand also, when all this goes on, this is not a situation that just started today. Everything that's going on now with the whole, this is, again, my opinion, the entire police brutality situation, we guys will say, well, I had nothing to do with it. Well, you know what? Maybe you didn't. But somewhere down the line, generation after generation after generation of neglect and the buildup of angry people, it's always going to come to a head at different points. So we've had one police acquittal after another of things that most people say, how in the world did he get off from that? Well, we found out this, and he turned his back, and he put his hand in his sock, and he reached back and grabbed his ear, and I had to shoot him 27 times.
But you can't compare necessarily the Darren Wilson case with the Jason Stockley case.
Didn't say you could.
Two completely different cases.
But it is to most people that are looked in. But here's another thing. Did you ever see the movie Time to Kill?
I did.
It's the one where the three good, it was a very stereotypical movie, but it had a good point. The three good old boys raped Samuel L. Jackson's daughter.
Yeah, I'm sure I did.
He went to the court, two guys.
Yes.
He went to the courthouse.
I did see it.
Shot him, and the question was, were they going to get him life, or was he going to get off because he was taking up for his daughter? So they go through all the case. Everybody's fighting and scrambling and screaming, and you got the Klan here, and you got the protesters here, and everybody's fighting, and NAACP is trying to get people to quit, and it's just a big mess. At the end of it, the guy that's the judge, and I can't remember, or who's the attorney, is trying to figure out a way to get this all-white jury to say, hey, this guy was defending his daughter. And he flipped the script on him and said, okay, imagine she was white. And everybody's like, oh, my God, I never thought of it like that. So what people have to understand is that you put yourself in the position of people that are protesting. Think if you had everybody you knew were always in a situation where the police made you squirm.
It was a perception, anyway.
Perception.
Because it's not the reality for everyone.
But to most black people, it is a monstrous perception. I'm most people I know are as law-abiding as you could ever dream of being. When I see a cop behind me, I sweat.
But see,
I have no idea.
You heard me play that bite from Lyda Cruz at the top. What I think you needed to hear from the mayor of St. Louis was, we understand your frustration.
Well, she's gutless.
It's not going to relate to this case. But if you protest all you want, but if you block traffic or you harass people at the ball game, you're going to jail.
I agree with that 1,000%.
I wish she'd done it.
I wish she'd do it too. I can't stand gutless government officials. It makes me sick to think that you're going to let people do whatever they want. But guess what? You kind of got to understand why they're doing what they want. But say, guess what? We got all the facilities in the world. You got enough social media, and
to get the point across.
To get the point across. There's not a soul in the world that doesn't understand the horrificness of police brutality. And blocking off a highway is not going to bring any more light to the subject. In fact, it may upset folks that may want to, hey, well, I understand what you're saying, but you're making me late for work. Well, guess what? You're late for work because what happened 25 years ago, and it's coming back to roost. So
bottom line is you can always go work at ESPN and use their Twitter account to get your point out, right?
Right, and then you get fired.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. You get a right
in this case.
You get a right to your opinion, but guess what? There are consequences to your opinion.
Scott Jones, it's always a pleasure, my friend. It's not?
No, I was going
okay.
to say.
I'm just checking. I was looking at that
I'm
look
just
on
kind
your
of
face.
rolling here, and I'm
I
just
know
thinking,
you're on a roll.
I appreciate the outlet because I think I share a lot of people's opinion, and some people like it, some people don't. But I just appreciate the fact of being able to, because most people know me as a fairly level-headed person, and I hear people who are your avid listeners who we argue about politics all the time, and they'll say, I appreciate the fact that you seem to get it and to have an outlet to get it, and there are people that are listening for the most part seem to get it as well.
You got to hear both sides of it, Scott.
If you live in one world or another, you never understand the middle, and then you're kind of stupid.
Thanks for coming in, my friend.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. 314-969-9797. I'll get to your phone calls. We'll give away our pocket constitution. We're going to give away a couple of them today before the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. We'll be right back.
This is the Marc Cox Show.
Listen to Allman in the Morning this week for your chance to win a family 4-pack of tickets to the Jurassic World exhibition at the Field Museum in Chicago. Plus, log on to 971talk.com and register to win the grand prize with hotel stay and VIP tickets to Jurassic